They never come with warning signs. That's the first illusion. They arrive soft, spoken, drenched in innocence, wrapped in charm. They do not declare war. They infiltrate. And by the time you realize what's happening, the damage has already been done. This isn't about love. It never was. It's about control, power, obedience. You were never chosen for who you are. You were selected for what you could provide. Your energy, your validation, your silence. They see in you what you don't yet know how to guard. That's the battlefield, your mind. That's the weapon, your heart. They study it, exploit it, then twist it against you, not with rage, but with need. Not with violence, but with absence. Their cruelty is quiet. Their abuse is surgical. And the deeper you fall into the spell, the more you begin to doubt your own vision. That's the trap. Once you stop trusting your perception, you're no longer a person, you're a tool. They mirror you first. They learn your rhythms, your desires, your past pain. Then they offer you a false reflection, a counterfeit version of the safety you've longed for. It's not real, it's bait. The moment you lean into it, they start the extraction. Piece by piece, they strip you of your confidence, your instincts, your boundaries. But they do it slowly, lovingly, so you mistake the erosion for love. You interpret your anxiety as overthinking, your gut as insecurity. You silence yourself to maintain peace, but what you're really doing is surrendering. You're handing over your reality, hoping they'll protect it. They won't. They'll distort it. And when you question them, when you confront the manipulation, you're punished with silence. Indifference, cold detachment. They weaponize their distance, training you to chase it. Because once you begin chasing what hurts you, you're theirs. But here's the truth. This wasn't love. It was possession. Not in the romantic sense. No, this was warfare disguised as affection. They don't want connection. They want submission. They feed on admiration, on loyalty they haven't earned, on sacrifices they wouldn't make. You were never their partner. You were their mirror, their projection, their puppet. They rewrite the story so they're always the victim and you're always the cause. And if you fight back, they don't argue. They retreat. They disappear. That's the real punishment, the emotional exile. Because by then, they've trained you to equate their presence with worth. And when they withdraw, you're left starving, not for them, but for the version of yourself you lost trying to keep them. You will never win with them, not because you're weak, but because the game is rigged. You're playing for clarity, for understanding, for truth. They're playing for dominance. The more honest you are, the more they distort. The more vulnerable you become, the more they exploit. You speak from pain, they listen for control. This isn't miscommunication, it's manipulation. It's not that they don't understand, it's that they don't care. Your pain is a tool, your confusion is leverage, your love is currency, and every time you reach out hoping for resolution, you're handing them more power. There's only one way out, silence, not passive silence, but strategic detachment. You don't explain, you don't justify, you don't warn, you disappear. Because once you see the game for what it is, the only winning move is to leave the table. They will try to pull you back, through guilt, pity, rage, nostalgia. Don't fall for it. It's not real. It's bait. They don't miss you. They miss the control. They don't love you. They love the supply. And the moment you give in, the cycle restarts. Idealization, devaluation, discard. Over and over until you're a shell, but you're not a shell, not anymore. The moment you recognize the pattern, you reclaim your power, because awareness is the antidote to manipulation. They thrive in confusion, but clarity is their death sentence. When you stop responding, when you stop explaining, when you stop needing them to see your side, that's when the healing begins. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've stepped out of the illusion. You've returned to yourself. And now you're dangerous, not because you seek revenge, but because you're immune. You've tasted the lie, and you'll never be fooled again. You understand the tactics, the cycles, the scripts. And more importantly, you understand your worth, not the version they constructed to control you, but the truth beneath all the noise. You are not difficult. You are not too much. You were simply too aware for someone who needed you blind. And now that you see clearly, the dynamic collapses, because manipulation only works when it's invisible. Once you name it, it loses its grip. This isn't about bitterness. It's about mastery, mastery of self, mastery of emotion, mastery of reality. They taught you indirectly, through pain, through confusion, through abandonment. They revealed your weaknesses, so you could fortify them. They triggered your insecurities, so you could heal them. They tried to break you, and in doing so, revealed where you needed to become unbreakable. That's the irony. They thought they were destroying you, but all they did was expose the places that weren't yet yours. You don't need closure. Closure is a weapon they hold hostage to keep you begging. You don't need apologies. Their remorse, if it exists, is only another manipulation. You don't even need understanding. Because some things are meant to be walked away from, not deciphered. Some people are meant to be remembered, not re-entered. What you need is truth, and the truth is simple. You were targeted, not loved. You were used, not cherished. You were a resource, not a partner. But now you are free. Freedom doesn't come in the form of revenge. It comes in silence, in indifference, in mastery. You no longer react. You no longer explain. You no longer hope. You move in silence. You live in power. You speak in clarity. That's your revenge, your absence, your success, your peace. You become the storm they can no longer control. And when they look back, hoping to find the version of you they once manipulated, they find nothing, because that version is gone, dead, replaced by someone who doesn't bend, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. That's the final stage, not hate, but indifference, not rage, but clarity, not war, but peace. You no longer need them to understand, because you understand, and that's enough. You must understand that the journey from manipulation to mastery is not linear. It is not neat or quick. It is a brutal excavation of self, peeling back layers that have been buried beneath confusion, shame, and doubt. You will feel lost. You will question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world. The people you once trusted will become strangers, their faces a gallery of pain and lessons you never wanted to learn but had to. This process requires patience, an unyielding, relentless patience with yourself. Because healing is not a sprint, it is a long, grueling marathon where your mind tries to trick you into turning back. The mind is a battlefield long after the external war ends. The scars are invisible, but their weight is real. You will feel the pull of old patterns. The ghost of their voice whispering lies in your ear. They told you that you were nothing without them, that you would be lost without their guidance, their validation. But here's the brutal truth. Those lies were a chain. Every "you can't," every "you're too much," every "no one else will want you," was forged to bind you tighter. The battle now is to break those chains, not with force, but with consistent refusal to believe them. Every time you challenge the narrative, every time you remind yourself of your worth, you chip away at the cage. You will discover your emotions are not enemies. They are signals, raw and unfiltered, telling you what the mind tries to suppress. Anger, sadness, fear, these are not signs of weakness. They are the language of survival, the indicators that boundaries have been crossed, that the soul is screaming for freedom. But you must learn to listen without letting these emotions hijack your logic. This is the art of emotional mastery. Not to deny what you feel, but to observe it, understand it, then choose how to respond rather than react. It is in this space between stimulus and response that your true power lies. The toxic voices in your head, remnants of their manipulation, will scream for your attention. They will dredge up shame and guilt, convincing you that the abuse was somehow your fault. This is the deadliest part of the cycle, the internalization of blame. You must be vigilant against this trap. No one who is held hostage blames the jailer for their captivity, except the victim of psychological warfare. Recognize these thoughts as the enemy's last resort, the final weapon to keep you bound. You are not responsible for their cruelty. You did not deserve their deceit. The only responsibility you have now is to yourself, to heal, to grow, to become whole again. Healing does not mean forgetting or excusing. It means reclaiming your narrative, taking back the story that was stolen from you and writing it with your own hand on your own terms. This requires brutal honesty with yourself, looking at your wounds without flinching, admitting where you were vulnerable, but also recognizing your strength. Because the truth is, you survived what most would crumble under. You endured the psychological assault and you're still here, still fighting. This endurance is not weakness, it is the foundation of your power. Many will try to convince you that moving on means forgetting the past, that forgiveness is a necessary step to peace. But forgiveness is a gift, not a requirement, and it is not the same as reconciliation. You do not owe your abuser anything, no peace, no closure, no absolution. Forgiveness is for you when and if you're ready. It is a way to unburden your heart, not an excuse to reopen wounds. Moving on means learning to live with your history without letting it define you or dictate your future. It means walking away from the poison with your head held high, your soul intact. You will encounter moments when your confidence shatters, the quiet, insidious self. Doubt will creep back in during the most unexpected moments, when you are alone, when you're tired, when the world feels cold. This is normal. Healing is not a linear path of constant progress, but a spiral with setbacks. Each setback is a chance to deepen your resilience, to reinforce your boundaries, and to remind yourself why you are fighting. Do not be ashamed of these moments. They are proof you are human and that you are still healing. The true victory is continuing despite them. As you rebuild, you will start to notice the subtle ways you were conditioned to compromise yourself. Maybe it was a constant need to please, to avoid conflict, to shrink so others could feel bigger. Maybe it was silencing your voice or doubting your instincts. These patterns are not flaws but survival mechanisms you developed in response to trauma. The work now is to recognize these behaviors without judgment and consciously choose new ones, to say no when you mean no, to speak your truth even when it shakes the room, to value your needs as much as you value others. This is not selfishness, it is self-respect. You will find yourself craving connection, but this time it will be different. You won't settle for the hollow echoes of manipulation disguised as affection. Instead, you will seek relationships that honor your boundaries and celebrate your autonomy. These relationships will be rare and precious because most people have never faced their own shadows with the clarity you now possess. You will attract those who resonate with your strength and repulse those who feed on weakness. This is the natural law of energy exchange. You become the gatekeeper of your world. There will be moments of loneliness. The world of those who have never experienced such deep betrayal may feel alien, and your experiences may isolate you. But solitude is not your enemy, it is your sanctuary. It is where you learn to enjoy your own company, to fill your own well, and to become self-sufficient emotionally. This solitude is the crucible in which self-mastery is forged. It teaches you that your worth is not contingent on others' presence or approval, but grounded in your intrinsic value. As you grow stronger, you will begin to notice the subtle shifts within yourself, the quiet confidence replacing anxiety, the steady calm where there was once chaos, the clarity replacing confusion. These are not small victories, they are monumental transformations. You are becoming the architect of your own life, no longer a victim of circumstance, but a creator of your destiny. The power of this transformation is not in flashy gestures, but in the steady, deliberate reclaiming of your mind and heart. Remember, control is an illusion, but sovereignty is real. You cannot control others or their actions, but you can own your responses, your choices, your inner state. This sovereignty is the foundation of freedom. It is the quiet power that no manipulation can touch. It is the space where you stand unshaken, grounded in your truth, indifferent to chaos outside. This is the ultimate liberation, the mastery of self in a world designed to confuse and control. The world around you will continue to test you. Old wounds will reopen, new challenges will arise, and temptation to revert to old patterns will persist. But each test is an opportunity to reinforce your foundation. Each challenge is a chance to deepen your mastery, Do not fear these moments. They are the forge of strength. Your resilience will grow with each trial until you become unbreakable, not because you are impervious to pain, but because you refuse to be defined by it. You must also cultivate fierce compassion, not for your abusers, but for yourself. Compassion is not weakness, it is wisdom. It allows you to hold your flaws and mistakes without judgment, to see your journey with kindness instead of cruelty. This compassion is a shield against the self-loathing that often accompanies trauma. It is the voice that whispers, "You are enough, you are worthy, you are whole." When you nurture this voice, it drowns out the echoes of manipulation and lies. In this space of compassion and strength, you will find the courage to set new boundaries. Boundaries are not walls but gates. They allow the good in and keep the destructive out. Setting boundaries is an act of radical self-love. It is declaring to the world that your mind and body are sovereign territory, not open fields for invasion. This is a practice, a discipline, a daily commitment. It is also a declaration. I will no longer accept less than I deserve. And with these boundaries comes freedom. Freedom from the chains of approval, from the trap of guilt, from the exhaustion of pretending. You will begin to live authentically, not to please others but to honor yourself. You will make choices aligned with your deepest values, not out of fear or obligation. This authenticity will radiate, drawing people who respect and cherish you, and repelling those who do not. There will be no grand epiphanies, no sudden moments of enlightenment. Your transformation will be gradual, a steady burning away of illusion until only truth remains. This truth is simple but profound. You are the author of your life, the guardian of your peace, and the master of your fate. The abuse was a chapter, not the entire story. The manipulation was a lesson, not a life sentence. Your power lies in your freedom to choose what comes next. Remember always, the most dangerous thing you can do is to believe you are powerless. Powerlessness is the breeding ground for manipulation. But once you reclaim your power, the game ends. No more cycles, no more repeats, no more victims, only sovereignty, only mastery, only peace.